So we are going to make some gussets to hold this all together. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the top view and we are going to create a sketch. Now what we'll do for the sketch plane, just zooming in, is we'll just pick one of these faces and that will allow us to have the sketch plane. So it will build it based on that face instead of on the top plane, which is down here. So on our toolbar, there is the use, and that's what we want to do. We want to select the use. Now, with using this, um, again, you might not see it depending on your screen size. So you'll probably see the first tool in the drop down. So it looks like a cube like that. The shortcut is the letter U. You can also type in the search tools for use. So we're going to select that tool. And what we're going to do now is just zoom in. And if you look at this, we're going to select these circles. And each time we select those circles, it's actually making a circle. You can see the center point right on it. So above this tube, that's the one that's directly. So we'll do two to the side, the one directly above, and two to the other side. And then down here, we're going to select those as well. So these are the circles that we're going to put machine screws through to hold the two pieces together. And we're also going to need some lines. So we're just going to select these lines. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide everything. So you can see, I'm going to turn off the use command. So what we're going to do is we're making a T gusset. And I'm just going to zoom in a bit. Now, we need to connect this together. So I'm going to draw a line. And you'll notice I'm looking at my screen and I can see little icons. So first off, the dotted orange and this little icon indicates that it's going to be a right angle. The other icon is the coincident icon, and that indicates that it has to be touching that line. So you want to make sure that both of those icons are there, and just click that. And just hit escape. We don't want to set the distance because we're constraining it based on the distance between those two lines. So I'm going to select the line tool again, same thing, hold my mouse over here so I get the coincident icon, and that's highlighted in orange. Hold my mouse so that it's vertical and that it's touching that, and click. Escape. The letter L is your shortcut for the line tool, so L, and one last line right over here. So down at the bottom, make sure it's coincident with that line, and across, and click. And the letter L. So now I have a T shape. Because these are blue, they're not fully constrained, so I want to use my dimension tool, and I'm going to select the center of that circle and that line, and just move my mouse up here, and that click 0.5 inches. And I'm going to do the same thing for this. Click the center, click the line, move your mouse, click 0.5. As you use these tutorials, feel free to rewind to see how things are done. Again, I've selected the dimension tool, I've clicked the center of the circle, the line, I move my mouse, I click, and I type 0.5. So I now have a T, but the T is connected right here. So I'm going to use my scissors tool, the trim tool. And the trim tool, again, you can always search for it. And you can see the letter M is the shortcut. And when I click the trim tool, I can select that little line and delete it. And I don't need to do it for these, but I don't like to have unnecessary lines if I can help it. So I'm just going to get rid of them. And there we go. I have a T gusset. What I'm going to do is I'm still in the sketch. So I'm going to rename the sketch, sketch. T Gusset, and I'm going to click the extrude button. So this is a real handy thing, is that even though I haven't finished the sketch, I can actually go straight to extrude, and I'm just going to right click so that I can see at an angle. So here's what's happening. So it's extruding my T Gusset. It's add, adding it as a new object. That's what I want. And blind, you can see the direction it's going above. That's what I want. And the depth, I'm going to change that to 1/8. So it's just a little bit smaller. You want to be very careful that you're not adding it, because then it becomes an an object part of that. We want to add a totally new thing. So there's my T Gusset. Um, I'm going to label it extrude T Gusset and green check mark. And just like that, I now have a separate piece called part 5, and it's the T Gusset. So that's really handy. Um, what I can do now is right click, rename it. So it's going to be called T Gusset, set the material. Now, I need to do a part number, but I'm going to purposely not do that right now because I want to show you how to do part numbers in a bill of materials later on. So I'm going to hold off on the part number, and I'm going to do that later on. So here is my material library. Again, just type ALU, there's aluminum. Um, again, we tend to use 6061 and green check mark. So there's my T Gusset. I'm going to make a slight change to it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide all my drive rails, and if I right click, I should be able to hide all my sketches as well. So what I have with this is I have these sharp edges. So I'm going to take my fillet. This is the fillet tool. And what I'm going to do is I am going to select entities. So I'm going to just zoom in, and this little line right in here, I'm going to select that little line. So what I'm going to do is when you're cutting this out, we're going to cut these out on a machine. Um, your cutter is this round circular cutting bit. So it comes along, and the problem is that when it gets to the corner, it's not going to be able to leave that perfectly 90-degree corner. So we're just going to add a fillet so it knows where to go. And the radius for the fillet is going to be 1/8 of an inch, because we'll use a 1/4 inch uh, cutting tool. And I like filleting all the corners. A rounded corner actually spreads any loads out and stuff. If you have a sharp corner, everything's concentrated on that point. Whereas if I round it out, it's spread out over that point. So it will actually be stronger by adding these curves to it. And what I'm doing is I'm using my right mouse button. Now, you'll notice I'm not bothering to edge fillet over the sides. We're going to cut this out of sheet aluminum. Um, so as we're cutting it, it will actually follow those curves. That's no problem. But doing it on the sides, it's not so easy to do. So I'm just going to click that. And just like that, I have my T Gusset. There we go. And I'm going to bring my drivetrain rails back so I have everything to see.